Okay, let's just jump right into it. Welcome back to The Coven. I am absolutely thrilled you're here today because honestly, we are getting deep into our feelings with an explainer that completely caught me off guard. Today, we're breaking down what I can only call an absolute masterclass in pacing, Piper Lawson's novel, Hard to Fake. But before we get into the actual mechanics of why this story works so brilliantly, I want you to picture something for a second. Imagine that deeply relatable, visceral panic of desperately needing a plus one for a high school reunion. We've all had those moments, right? We're just scrambling to protect your dignity. Well, our protagonist, Brooke, is in that exact situation. And she decides to ask her brother's best friend, who, by the way, also happens to be her longtime college crush, to be her date. And the specific way she goes about asking him, it sets the stage for literally everything we're going to explore today.
So Brooke asks Miles, who is this untouchable NBA sharpshooter for the Denver Kodiaks, to be her fake date. And to justify asking him, she frames it as, quote, incredibly modern. She actually points to the wording on her reunion invite to logically explain away why he should come with her. Let's just pause and appreciate this for a second. If we plunge directly into Brooke's internal monologue here, we are seeing a classic, undeniable defense mechanism. She takes a situation that is inherently vulnerable, completely terrifying, and she intellectualizes it. She strips all the raw emotion away and presents the whole thing as this clean, logistical, modern arrangement. It is the ultimate shield for an overthinking mind.
And honestly, if you are a gifted child, or if you have a loud inner perfectionist running the show, or really if you've ever intellectualized your way into or out of a situation because the actual emotional truth was just way too heavy to say out loud, then you already get Brooke completely. So the crucial point here is this. You are Brooke, I am Brooke, we are all Brooke. It's a shared habit, isn't it? We lead with our brains because leading with our hearts feels like walking a tightrope without a net. This explainer is basically going to feel like a conversation between two neurodivergent best friends, because Piper Lawson has somehow managed to capture this hyper-analytical approach to love and vulnerability absolutely perfectly on the page.
Section 1. Crafting Emotional Inevitability. Why the best romances don't start at Chapter 1.
As someone who analyzes writing for a living, I can tell you for sure that the reason Brooke and Miles' dynamic hit so incredibly hard isn't just because of some witty banter, it's because of a concept we'll call emotional inevitability. Lawson achieves this perfect pacing resonance through deep, pre-existing character history. You see, the best stories in the genre, the ones that truly hook us, they don't actually start at Chapter 1. The foundation was poured years ago, and that completely changes how we, as readers, experience the romance. First, you have years of history. Brooke has literally been carrying these feelings for Miles since college. Second, you have this long period of carefully not acting on those feelings. Watching someone be exactly who you always knew they were, but still keeping your walls all the way up. And then finally, we arrive at step 3, which is Chapter 1. This is the moment the pretending stops. By the time we start reading, this isn't some rushed insta-love situation that our logical brains are going to reject. It's a slow burn timeline that makes the present romantic action feel completely earned. It feels inevitable.
Section 2. Preemptive Attunement and Perfectionism Closing the Loophole.
So how exactly does that inevitability play out between our specific characters? Well, this brings us to one of the most deeply resonant dynamics in the entire book. It's this beautiful dance between Brooke, the perfectionist who's constantly trying to hide, and Miles, the incredibly attentive partner who flat out refuses to let her. This isn't just about two people figuring out they have a crush on each other. This is a masterclass in how characters interact with each other's deepest psychological defenses. Look at Brooke's classic neurodivergent relationship hurdle, the perfectionist loophole. She's hardwired to intellectualize, to shoulder every single burden, and to handle things entirely on her own. But then, look at Miles's countermove, preemptive attunement. Miles doesn't just react to her, he anticipates her. He sees exactly how she operates, recognizes that she is about to disappear into herself, and he shows up anyway. He preemptively closes the exit door before she can even reach for the handle. For readers who are so used to feeling like they are either too much or not enough, seeing a character be fully perceived and accommodated like this is just so incredibly validating.
And that brings me to a line that absolutely floored me. Miles says to her, "If you need anything, you must call me." Notice the deliberate use of the word must there. Not you can call me, not you should, must. He knows her so well that he realizes if he just offers a polite, casual invitation, her perfectionist brain is going to find a million reasons not to bother him. By using a mandate, he entirely eliminates her ability to overthink her way out of or relying on him. It is such a subtle but incredibly powerful craft choice by Lawson. We're not just looking at chemistry here, it's deep psychological attunement. Section 3. Consistent intimacy, the banter and the bet.
Now, that careful emotional consistency doesn't just stop at their conversations, it carries perfectly into their physical intimacy too, where their neurodivergent hurdles are completely respected. The friendship is still there, the banter is there. They don't suddenly morph into entirely different people when the tension peaks. Miles stays completely consistent and attentive. And honestly, the tension gets so thick that even the secondary characters can't ignore it. Which brings us to the absolute funniest, most brilliant plot device in the whole book. The Friend Squad literally has a group chat betting pool going on about when Brooke and Miles are finally going to break. I mean, our main characters think they are being so subtle, so discreet. Meanwhile, everyone around them is just watching this undeniable chemistry play out. This is such a fantastic tool for a writer to use because it totally validates the reader's perception. When you're reading a slow burn, you sometimes sit there wondering, wait, am I crazy or is the tension off the charts right now? Having the friend group basically look at the camera and go, yeah, we see it too, is just a spectacular way to reward the audience's emotional investment.
Section 4. Lessons for the writer, applying contemporary craft to celestial Gothic. As a lot of you know, I tend to read these books through the analytical lens of my own creative writing journey, specifically my MFA thesis, which is a celestial Gothic romantasy set in 16th century Italy called Before Gloria Regali. Now, you might be wondering, what on earth does a contemporary basketball romance set in modern-day Denver have to teach a writer about inherited secrets in a candlelit Italian library? The answer is absolutely everything, because the mechanics of human connection on the page are entirely universal. You've got the contemporary fake dating inevitability of hard to fake on one side and the Gothic romantasy pacing of my own work on the other. Even though the aesthetics are wildly different, like actually scratch that, they couldn't be more different. We're swapping out a basketball court for velvet-bound texts at midnight. The emotional pacing is identical. Every single book I read teaches me something about how relationship tension actually functions. Both of these genres rely heavily on the idea that the foundation of the relationship has to feel so much older and deeper than the very first page of the book.
Which brings us right back to our core definition for today's explainer, emotional inevitability, a writing craft technique where the reader feels they're simply arriving at the exact moment the inevitable finally happens. Whether you were dealing with a modern-day sports star in sneakers or a brooding 16th century noble, the history must feel like it was written in the stars long before the inciting incident even occurs. That is the magic trick. That is exactly how you get a reader to completely surrender to the story, because they inherently trust that the author has meticulously laid the groundwork for the payoff. Section 5, Final Verdict and the Coven, a story that gives energy, not just entertainment.
When a book truly sees its audience, when it fundamentally understands the overthinkers, the perfectionists, and the readers who intellectualize every single one of their feelings, it transcends just being a fun way to pass the time. It actually becomes something restorative. Now, yes, this book does end on a cliffhanger, but I have to say it wasn't a cruel one at all. It was a brilliantly structured invitation that trusted the reader's investment. So what's my final verdict? I am giving this book a very rare 4.5 spoons. I only took off half a spoon simply because that cliffhanger had me instantly grabbing book 2 at midnight, which I absolutely had not budgeted for financially or emotionally. But for those of you who know spoon theory, you know, the metric used by a lot of folks in the neurodivergent and chronically ill communities to measure daily mental and physical capacity, you know exactly what this reading means. This book didn't just entertain me, it genuinely gave me energy back. It completely filled my cup. Finding a contemporary romance that honors the complex, overthinking mind so thoroughly is incredibly rare, and Piper Lawson absolutely nailed it. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Have you ever intellectualized your way into a situation because the real emotional truth was just way too vulnerable to say out loud? I really, really want to know. If you are a recovering gifted child, an aspiring writer, or honestly just someone who loves analyzing the mechanics of a truly great story, please join the Coven. Hit subscribe, drop your own experiences in the comments below, and let's keep this conversation going. I cannot wait to read your thoughts. Until the next explainer, keep reading, keep analyzing, and I'll see you next time.